In the late 3rd century BC, wealthy guests attending a symposium in the city of Alexandria could witness a marvelous sight. A bronze statue of a maidservant stood holding a jug in one hand. When a guest placed a cup upon her other hand, the statue would begin to pour wine. A moment later, water would follow, mixing with the wine in the proper proportion. Once the cup was full, the flow stopped automatically. No servants were hidden inside the statue. No one operated it from behind a curtain. The entire process was controlled by a system of weights, air pressure, and hidden mechanisms concealed within. The ancient Greeks built many such machines, capable of performing sequences of actions automatically, hence their name, automata. In this video, we will explore the engineers who created them, the principles that made them work, and the reasons why this technology eventually disappeared. The idea of artificial beings appeared in Greek mythology long before the first automata were ever constructed. One of the earliest examples can be found in the works of Homer. In the Iliad, the god Hephaestus, divine craftsman of the gods, is assisted by a group of golden attendants. Homer describes them as possessing intelligence, speech, and strength. Hephaestus was also credited with the creation of self-moving tripods, a pair of mechanical dogs fashioned from gold and silver, and a gigantic bronze guardian called Talos. His task was to protect the island of Crete from invasion, patrolling its coastline and attacking hostile ships by hurling stones at them. He was said to possess a single vein running through his body, carrying a divine fluid known as ichor, the blood of the gods. When this vein was pierced, the giant collapsed and perished. Stories were also told of the legendary inventor Daedalus, whose statues were said to be so lifelike that later traditions claimed they could move by themselves. By the 4th century BC, this idea was no longer confined to myth. One of the most remarkable figures of this period was Archytas of Tarentum. A mathematician, philosopher, statesman, and military commander, Archytas was also deeply interested in mechanics. Ancient sources credit him with the construction of an extraordinary device which resembled a dove. According to the Roman writer Aulus Gellius, who preserves an earlier account, the device was fashioned from wood and was capable of flying. Exactly how the machine functioned remains a matter of debate. Various explanations have been proposed over the centuries, including steam power and even magnetism. Modern researchers, however, generally favor a simpler explanation. The dove was most likely propelled by compressed air, perhaps supplied by a bellows before launch. Unlike later automata, the dove does not appear to have possessed moving parts or the ability to perform a sequence of actions automatically. Instead, it seems to have been an experimental flying machine. If so, Archytas may have created one of the earliest recorded attempts at powered flight in human history. The centuries that followed witnessed major advances in Greek engineering. Following the conquests of Alexander the Great, the city of Alexandria emerged as one of the most important intellectual centers of the ancient world. Astronomers, mathematicians, and engineers gathered there, exchanging ideas and developing new technologies. Among the most influential inventors was Ctesibius of Alexandria, who lived during the 3rd century BC. Although most of his writings have been lost, ancient authors credit him with pioneering work in pneumatics, the study of compressed air and its practical applications. He also constructed elaborate water clocks featuring movable figures. The discoveries of Ctesibius would lay the foundations for a new generation of engineers. Among them was Philo of Byzantium, one of the most important inventors of antiquity. Around the end of the 3rd century BC, Philo composed a vast technical encyclopedia covering subjects ranging from artillery and siegecraft to pneumatics and automata. In his surviving works, he describes a variety of devices powered by air pressure, water, and hidden mechanisms. One of the most famous was the bronze maidservant described at the beginning of this video. The figure held a jug containing wine and water in separate reservoirs concealed within its body. When a guest placed a cup upon the servant's hand, the additional weight caused the hand to move slightly downward. This movement activated a hidden system of levers connected to valves inside the statue. As the valves opened, air pressure forced wine from its reservoir and into the cup. Once a predetermined quantity had been dispensed, the mechanism automatically redirected the flow, allowing water to follow. The two liquids were therefore mixed in a controlled proportion, much as they would have been at a Greek banquet. The increasing weight of the filling cup gradually altered the balance of the mechanism. When the cup became sufficiently heavy, the valves closed once more and the flow stopped automatically. The most famous engineer associated with ancient automata was Heron of Alexandria, who lived during the 1st century AD. Building upon the work of earlier inventors, Heron described dozens of machines powered by air pressure, water, and weights. Among his most famous inventions were the automatic temple doors. When a priest lit a fire upon an altar, the heat caused the air inside a sealed chamber beneath it to expand. This increased pressure was transferred through a system of pipes into a container partially filled with water. As the water was displaced, it flowed into a suspended vessel. The increasing weight of this vessel caused a series of ropes and pulleys to turn, gradually opening the temple doors. To worshippers unfamiliar with the hidden mechanism, the effect must have appeared miraculous. Heron also described devices capable of producing sounds. Some employed compressed air to imitate the songs of birds, while others generated trumpet-like noises during religious ceremonies. As air passed through carefully designed pipes and chambers, the machines created the illusion that statues or sacred objects had come to life. Perhaps the most impressive of all were Heron's automatic theatres. These miniature stages could perform entire theatrical scenes without human intervention. A hidden system of ropes wrapped around a rotating drum controlled the movement of figures and props. As the drum slowly turned, different chords were released or tightened in a predetermined sequence. Characters entered the stage, moved across it, and exited again, while doors opened and closed. Once the mechanism had been set in motion, it could continue for several minutes. In many respects, these devices resemble mechanical ancestors of later clocks and music boxes. Heron's writings reveal a sophisticated understanding of mechanics and demonstrate how far Greek engineers had advanced. Despite their ingenuity, the automata of Philo and Heron were designed primarily to entertain, astonish, and impress their audiences. But the most sophisticated machine produced by the ancient Greeks served a very different purpose. In 1901, sponge divers working near the small Greek island of Antikythera discovered the remains of an ancient shipwreck. Among the statues, pottery, and other cargo recovered from the seabed was a heavily corroded lump of bronze. For decades, its true nature remained unknown. Only later did researchers realize that the object contained dozens of interlocking gears arranged in an extraordinarily complex mechanism. Detailed study revealed that it had originally been constructed sometime during the 2nd century BC. Today, it is known as the Antikythera Mechanism, a device that functioned as a mechanical model of the cosmos. The mechanism consisted of a complex arrangement of bronze gears connected to a series of dials and pointers. By turning a handle on the side of the device, the user could simulate the movements of celestial bodies and track a variety of astronomical cycles. The machine could determine the positions of the sun and moon, display the phases of the moon, and predict future eclipses. It also incorporated the Metonic cycle, a period of 19 years used to reconcile lunar months with the solar year. Other dials tracked the Callippic cycle, the Saros cycle, and the Exeligmos cycle, all of which were important for astronomical calculations. Particularly remarkable was its treatment of the moon. Greek astronomers had long recognized that the moon does not move across the sky at a constant speed. To reproduce this irregular motion, the mechanism employed an ingenious system of gears capable of approximating the moon's changing velocity. The inscriptions engraved upon the machine served as a kind of instructional manual, explaining the purpose of the various dials and indicators. Modern researchers have therefore suggested that the mechanism served not only as a calculating device, but also as an educational instrument. In many respects, the Antikythera Mechanism represented the culmination of centuries of Greek scientific and technological development. Its construction required expertise in mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, and precision engineering. Given the sophistication of these devices, an obvious question arises: why did this technology not continue to develop? Many of the machines described by Philo and Heron depended upon highly specialized knowledge. Such expertise was concentrated in a few major centers of learning. Over time, the political and economic conditions that had supported these centers began to change. The Hellenistic kingdoms that had fostered scientific research disappeared, while the institutions that preserved and transmitted technical knowledge gradually declined. As a result, much of the practical expertise required to construct complex automata was lost. Another factor was the purpose of the machines themselves. Most ancient automata were not designed to transform industry or replace large numbers of workers. They served primarily as religious displays, theatrical spectacles, scientific demonstrations, or objects of curiosity. Although they revealed remarkable engineering skill, there was little economic incentive to produce them on a large scale. But the tradition did not vanish entirely. The Eastern Roman Empire preserved many elements of the ancient Greek scientific heritage. Byzantine authors continued to describe mechanical devices, while the imperial court became famous for elaborate automata intended to impress foreign visitors. Mechanical birds, roaring lions, and moving thrones were reportedly displayed within the imperial palace of Constantinople. Greek scientific works also survived through translations into Syriac and Arabic. During the Abbasid period, scholars studied and preserved the writings of earlier Greek engineers, ensuring that many of their ideas continued to circulate. The automata of Archytas, Philo, and Heron were therefore not dead ends. Although many of the machines themselves disappeared, the principles behind them survived and influenced later generations of engineers.